Sam is not here in our meeting. She is at the Center for Higher Learning there in Abington, Virginia, attending a meeting on our behalf. But I will be your host today. And so we're still admitting several people into our meeting. So we're glad to have you. Today's meeting is going to be primarily centered around just a few topics relevant to Robot Drone League, right? I did invite some Robot Drone League Junior coaches in here just in case we did have a few that you might have questions. But for the most part, we're going to try to get in and out within an hour. I feel like the best advice that I can give you is that listen to your other coaches, right? So we do have some veteran coaches today that have some really good tips and hacks and best practices, and they might even share a few failures, right? And their frustrations. I had one coach, I said, hey, could you just share some stuff with our cohort because we're bringing on another regional, as most of you know, and this one's a big one. It's in Boston, Massachusetts, for our New England regional, and a lot of new coaches. So the understanding is that a lot of these guys are new. This is their first year. However, some of you are like, well, I don't know what I could add because, my team, we enjoy the whole Robot Drone League platform, but we're not really into it for the trophies, and our robots, might not look like something that came out of MIT or something like that. So, but you know what? I think everyone has something that's pertinent that they can share. Maybe it's some of the frustrations that you've had, and how did your team overcome that? How did you overcome that as a teacher, right? Because you guys are not just sitting around waiting on things to happen. You're making things happen in your classroom. So early on, most of you have been through a advanced Robot Drone League workshop, or maybe a junior workshop as well, which is a half a day. One of the most important pieces of that advanced workshop is the CAD session. And let me just say that I'm starting to really rethink how we teach CAD. We use the platform Onshape. And generally, what we do is we send out homework prior to the workshop. And we're counting on you and the honor system to get that homework done. Well, as we start getting ramped up into the season, we've had a lot of our coaches, ask for files, which we've got all the 3D printed STL files that we want to give you. Be on the lookout for the October 1st newsletter, which is going to have that same information in there. So if you have a 3D printer and you would like to gain access to how to make a space drill, or how to print out the spectrometer, or maybe the marker that the drone has to deploy into the deep crater or to the shallow craters, all those STL files are there. We had another coach say, well, what about the moon rocks and the ice crystals, which are nothing more than, if you remember last year's game, Mineshaft, which had the fake coal in it that's kind of split up. It's kind of like a gag gift, I guess, for Christmas. And I guess you could put candy or money inside the coal. Well, we went back with those because the coal looks a lot like moon rocks if you paint them gray. So that's what we're utilizing for this year's moon rocks game elements. And then of course the ice elements are aqua colored wiffle balls. And so we'll provide the links for those if you'd like to purchase them. They're not very expensive at all. But just if you are a registered team and you've already paid your registration fee, either with a credit card, a check, or PO from your school, you will receive those game elements in your kit of parts. So hopefully you've already received those. If not, just let us know. Send us an email. Julia Folk with our RDL store will get those out to you as soon as possible. Okay. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and get started. One of the part I was going to show is, going back to the 3D printer premise, by a show of hands, who all has a 3D printer in their classroom? And it's not going to be everybody, right? And that's okay. We understand that. Um, but one thing that I would suggest, and I'm going to produce a little, I'm going to produce somebody is, let's see, try to mute your microphones if you can for me. And then, of course, we'll get you guys in here when we do have some of our coaches that do want to, like I said earlier, share some best tips and practices. But going back to the 3D printer, we just did a little poll just to see who all had 3D printers. And I wish that every classroom in the United States and everywhere had a 3D printer in their classroom, because I think it really gives the kids, whether it's Tinkercad or Onshape, it gives them an opportunity to invent. And in Robot Drone League, especially in our engineering presentations, in our rubrics, that's all a part of it, is innovation. I think that's why we don't see kids on competition days on their cell phones, because they're so busy. Well, they're having fun, but they're so busy with their innovation and problem solving and trying to get through the day. But again, they're not on their cell phones. And so I think that's kind of the goal too, is we're trying to create the next generation workforce of innovators. So with CAD, when we start thinking about how is my team going to overcome the challenges of Moonbase? And I'll share something real quick about the craters. Those have been a challenge, even for us. Our design team at Streamworks there in East Tennessee State University at Valley Brook, the teams had a hard time designing the crater to make it, and it has to be a perfect balance. It has to be a super challenge for robots, because you guys are going to be challenged on how do I get into the robots, or how do I get into the craters with my robots. And if you noticed inside the RDL store, the truggy wheels have been sold out for quite some time, because that's all of our RDL teams are purchasing all the truggy tires that we have available, because getting into the crater is going to be a challenge. And then scooping up the game elements, which is where the moon rocks and the ice are, which that's where all the, that's the whole reason why we're trying to get into the craters. But then getting out might be a challenge too. So not to mention that the gold is inside the lunar caverns. So you have to go through the craters first in order to get into the lunar cavern, and that's where the gold piece is. And so that's where a lot of points are just laying in there, right? But I mention all that because when we design our robots, the number one piece of equipment that you have to start with consideration on is your ECP, your electrical control panel. And one of the best exercises that you can do for you and your kids, and you'll see this in the newsletter, there's a link to it, but it's Onshape. We use Onshape because it's free. It's free for education. If you use Tinkercad, SolidWorks, Inventor, Autodesk, any of those products are great. But try to get the free resources. We like Onshape because we can, it's a very collaborative, and the physics on it are just amazing. So Steve Wright, Dr. Steve Wright, can work on something in Tennessee, and I can work on something in Georgia, and we can do it simultaneous. And so that's the advantage of Onshape for us. But what I would do, and like I said, I'm gonna make a short video, especially for our new guys, on, let's say you don't have that 3D printer. Let's say you don't have that laser cutter. But if you have a drill, I can show you how your kids can design that ECP, take a 1/4-inch drill and drill out their holes based on that template that they're going to design. So now they're getting the best of both worlds. They're still able to do some autonomous machining, even though it's a drill, because they don't have the fancy, laser cutter in their classroom. but they can also learn how to do some Onshape and some CAD. You know, and obviously designing an ECP is not going to make you proficient, on week one, right? But with all the free lessons that are out there and the YouTube channels with all the free resources and training guides on there, you're going to find, I promise you this, one kid will come back and they'll say, you know what, I really like this. And they will become a CAD savant. They will start creating and designing, and the things that they come up with will start to really blow your mind. You know what? That's a $50,000 a year job. If they go out to a community college or a technical school and they're able to take a few classes, they can get certified. Hey, you know what? And if you really want to push, and become proficient and better at CAD and want to explore it, and you just feel like, hey, maybe I need some in-person instruction. Seek out your community colleges or your local tech colleges too, right? You'll find some really good resources out there, especially in engineering graphics. Okay. All right. On that note, I am going to start going down our list. We got so many people here that if you have a question, please raise your hand, and we'll get you to pipe up and ask your question in front of everybody. When we do, though, we'd love for you to introduce yourself and what team you're affiliated with, your team number. If you're new and you don't know your team number, that's okay. But we really want to bring in some of the veterans. So let me see who all we got here. Let's see, I got Miss Tanya Kennedy from Lee County, Virginia, which happens to be, and it's fitting that maybe she goes first because she is Team 100. She is the very first, even though she wasn't the very first coach, she is affiliated with the first RDL team, and that's been quite some time ago that they came into existence. But we'll see, we got Miss Kayla Cantrell, hailing from Buchanan County, Virginia. So she's been here quite some time too. We got Mr. Joe Mulholland from Georgia. Let's see, I got Michael Puckett calling in from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And I'm looking for, oh, here we go. Matt, are you ready to present? We just had while Matt gets ready, I'll just share with you guys that Matt and his team 128 from Chucky Doak, Tennessee, interviewed with us the other day. And I'll give you some background on Matt's team from Chucky Doak. Every year they show up and they have an incredible robot and an incredible drone, but specifically what they hone in on is the autonomous functions of their robot, meaning that they are programming their robots to take over or take on the autonomous challenges in Robot Drone League. So I'm going to let Matt go ahead and talk and give maybe his top 3 pointers on what it means to be an RDL coach and best practices for what's worked for his team. Matt, are you ready?
Yeah, I think so. Can you all hear me?
We got you loud and clear.
Okay, so top 3 points. Oh, let's see. If it's day one and you're a brand new coach, I think the best thing to do is just go right on that Robot Drone League website and download all the documents you can. Like, become familiar with the game. We don't build until we know exactly what we need to build. Like, we make a game plan first. So we go and we find the document. The first one is the challenge manual. And in that challenge manual, like this year, you've got a list of, if you count them all up, it's 7 tasks. If you go all the way down to the autonomous, or not the autonomous, if you go all the way down to the STEM question, I think it ends up being 7 total tasks. And what we generally do is we're honest with ourselves and we say we can't do it all. If you're going to be honest with yourself, I even told one of my kids I'd give them $10 if any single team did every single one of these things in 10 minutes, because I just don't think it can be done. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but we always try to figure out what we're capable of, and we're realistic about that. So not only what are we capable of, but I also want to know what's the easiest thing that gives us the most points. like how much bang for your buck, you know? It's like if we get a STEM question in the first minute, for example, all that requires is that we fly our drone over there or drive our robot over there and activate our camera, and of course answer the question correctly. So that gives us 500 points. So that's really a no-brainer for us. And if you're reading through the challenge manual and you find other things like that, then yeah, definitely give those your best shot. And the other two things, outside of the challenge manual, number two, I would say go for that AMG, the Autonomous Measures Guide. This year, the points, they might not quadruple, but in some cases, correct me if I'm wrong, Dennis, but I think they are more than quadruple in some cases. Isn't that true?
Sorry, I'm muted. Um,
No.
we've taken we've taken the quadruple points out if you do something in autonomous after the actual autonomous period, right? So, but yeah, so we've taken that out. But if you are successful in autonomous and during that first minute, you will really, I mean, that's, you know, we focus on trying to get teams to really accelerate at taking on those points or those challenges so that they can accumulate those points.
Okay, so yeah, you can get more points in that first minute, of course, but they have taken out the autonomous during the teleop period. So last year that was a big deal, but this year it just that's not going to happen. So that first minute is huge. You can either give yourself a lead or you can fall behind, and it all depends on whether what you planned at practice actually works on the field. And no matter how experienced you are, you know, I'm a veteran coach and some other veteran coaches are here. No matter how much experience you have, you know, failure is something that you're going to run into at some point. So be ready for that too. I mean, I know I am. If our autonomous is planned and ready and it just doesn't work on the day of, you know, just take a deep breath and say, all right, let's try it again next match. But speaking of which, after you get familiar with the autonomous measures guide, that being number two, the next thing that we try to do is we try to simulate some of the environment since we're not going to actually see it until our first regional experience. So if we're going to go up to UVA Wise, you know, that's not until November 8th. In the meantime, we try to take things in my classroom and try to find things that are kind of a similar height or a similar width. Or if we can't find anything like that, we use cardboard sometimes and we just mock things up. And after we mock up parts of the field, we also have those little interlocking foam pads for the floor. We always use those too. And after we mock up our field, we run our autonomous tests and we try to get as close as we possibly can to something that's going to work consistently. And if it doesn't work, you know, trial and error is a big deal. You just try again, try again, try again. And especially with the drones, I haven't really had bad experiences with the EP core, except they did last year, early in the season, decide that they didn't want to use or they didn't want to keep supporting the software for traditional computers like desktops and laptops. So now we're using mobile devices, which works really well. And I'm pretty happy about that. But the EP cores work pretty well. They're consistent. The drones, especially Telos, we have had, yeah, we've had hit and miss experiences with those. Sometimes we'll get somebody like we've got a guy working with our drones right now who's using Python. He was using Node.js and everything was working fine, but he had trouble getting had trouble getting a video stream. Eventually what we started doing was like a while loop, and then I had him do a for loop, which equates to about 5 seconds if we do. I think we were doing 60 frames, or no, we did 300 frames because we were going for 5 seconds. Anyway, if you have glitches like that, don't be afraid to pivot to, you know, other methods of programming. Like we started with drone blocks, which is what we were trained to do in our first StreamWorks training, and I thought that works great, and it did work great for a long time. And at competition, I don't know if it was through wireless interference from other similar products like other telos. I'm not sure what it was, but something was causing ours to delay and sometimes just not operate at all. And this year we've decided to pivot to other products. Like we've still got our Tello as a backup, but we're going to try the Light B Wing this year. And it looks pretty good. Also, the Hopper drone, which is American made, I know they've got that on the website. That one looks pretty good. So back to my points. So the documents, all right. Once you get your documents done, my suggestion is, or once you get familiar with the documents and you make your plan, autonomous should always be first priority in my opinion, because that gets that gets you ahead of the game a little bit in your 10-minute match. That could give you kind of a front running position, and then you don't have so much stress. You're not trying to catch up to the other teams during the next 9 minutes. So once you've got your autonomous working, it's all about teleop. And for my teams, we have always decided to um, simulate and mock up parts of the field and have competitions, like to find out who's going to drive or fly. Like we don't know who's the best, but every year somebody steps up and scores the highest in our little competitions. It might be something simple, like maybe we've designed some kind of claw that goes on our drone, and we want to see, like, who's the fastest at picking up something that we 3D printed, or maybe it's just like a solo cup or something stupid that we found in my classroom. Usually it's something like that, and we just make up these competitions in like 5-10 minutes, and we spend a 3-hour meeting where we just try to figure out who's going to be our driver, and we try to keep these things timed. It's not just about the skill; it's about who's fastest as well. Like not just who can complete it, but who completes it the fastest. And once we do that, we've basically covered all our bases except for the ones that we're terrible at, which is documentation. I'll be the first to admit that we don't make the best engineering notebook. We're trying to improve that this year. We have lost points in that in the past, but I got a kid right now working on that. Yeah. And what we generally have done with that, just to make sure that we have something when we show up, we've always taken pictures to document what we do, since so much of our stuff is hands-on. Screenshots, images, we upload that to a shared document. And once that shared document is passed around enough and people put dates and descriptions on each image, we try to put that into some format that is easy to read and kind of gives people an idea of what we've done all semester, all year. And I know that it's not the stereotypical engineering notebook, but like I said, that's why I think we lose points for that. And admittedly, it's not our best. It's not our biggest pro for my team. We could do better. Does anybody have questions? I think those are my main 3 points. It's probably 4 if you count documentation, but ABC, once again, just to recap all of that, is just go on the website, familiarize yourself with the challenge guide and the AMG. Second, master autonomous, because you get a lot of points for that. And third, master teleop. And teleop just takes time. Competition is good. Kids love it if you set up games and make a competition out of it. And to be honest, I usually get in on it too. I'm not going to be one of the drivers or pilots, but I still have fun driving those things. So that's what we do. If anybody has questions or comments, I'm happy to try to answer anything I can.
Matt, thank you. And let me just add that, yeah, please, let's see, it looks like Danny, do you have a question? I think, make sure I want to see, I don't see anything in chat.
I was
Looks
say,
like-
I'm
Oh,
good.
yeah, go ahead. Oh, you are? Okay.
I didn't have a question. My kitten's been running across everything, so she may have accidentally hit something.
The cat raised the hand. There you go. When we interviewed Matt's team the other day, I was just really impressed with how respectful his kids were. And all of your educators, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. You really don't see that sometimes. So I mean, they're very attentive, very focused. And I think, that's a tribute. I'd like to take credit for it. That's the RDL, right? But it's not the truth. The truth is, it's that man right there, the coach. It's the teachers that really paved the path for these kids to have this opportunity. So we're so thankful and very appreciative of Matt and his team. And it's just not, I mean, most of these kids on his team this year are new. And I was looking back through some pictures as we were putting the interview together. And I don't think any of the same kids are on that team that I interviewed in the last pictures from their trophy year or their trophy presentation. So good job, Coach. And we're super excited to see you guys again. But part of RDL is, we want to share best practices, especially in coding and automation, right? Because the jobs of the future are all centered around exactly what Jason's doing. Hey, we got, let's see, I think we do have some questions here. So let me get into chat.
I have a
Um,
question.
yeah, go ahead. Feel free.
Okay. Matt, with the light viewing and the hopper drone, we had connectivity issues as well with the Tello. Do those come with, oh gosh, like what is it? The handheld thing? How are you driving it?
Oh.
Is the question.
Yeah, you're asking if it supports teleop and autonomous.
No, are you driving it with, and maybe I'm not using the right terminology, but we were using phones, like a cell phone to drive it.
Yeah.
And then we were trying to use the iPads, but again, had, issues with the connectivity. So, can you, like our flyer, or not flyers, but, oh gosh, it's been a long day.
Okay.
The controllers that you use to play PlayStations, do they have controllers?
Yeah, it comes with its own controller.
Okay.
The controller, it's basically playable right out of the box. Like if you just want to run around with teleop and get used to the controller. The controller is pretty basic, but it does work. I tested that out myself. The kid that I've got working with it, he has downloaded an app, and I think it's about a 15-page manual that comes with it. And toward the back, it talks about the app you download.
Okay.
And the app is very similar to Scratch or Drone Blocks or any of that other block coding that your kids are probably used to. And just like everything else, you have to get used to it because every new proprietary type of software that we use has some differences. Of course, they're all based on native language. And to be honest, I don't even know what the native language is. I think it might be JavaScript, but I'd have to double check. But either way, you don't have to dig into the syntactical code. You can just use block coding and it's just fine. Although if your kids do decide to dig into some sort of text-based or syntactical code, it will process faster.
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you.
And as far as the Light B wing goes, so far so good. It's tested out really well for us. But once again, that's with no interference. What we're probably going to do eventually is try to run the Light B wing in the same room as a Tello or maybe even two Tellos. And since those are two separate brands, we're hoping that maybe the interference won't be as bad. But we'll see. We just test it to find out, and I really don't have any way of knowing other than testing.
Then trying it,
Yeah.
I think Tellos, when we initially started and we put I think we had about 500 Tellos in our RDL store. So hence that's why so many teams had Tellos. And we learned real quick that when you have 6 or more Tellos in the same proximity, the interference is pretty severe. So luckily we've gotten away from that, and we still have Tellos. You'll see Tellos pop up from time to time. I think we still have like 10 out of those 500 left in the store, and I'm not pushing it. If they sell, they sell. We were really impressed with the hoppers, for the wind hoppers. Those are really good drones. And some other drones out there that are really good too. But DJI is the company that manufactured the Tello and the RoboMaster and et cetera, and they no longer manufacture educational products. So I want to try to get to some other questions here real quick. Go ahead and just, I'm trying to answer the ones in chat. And if we don't get to you, I promise we'll get to you sooner or later. But go ahead and just, let me see. I got some hands raised. Danny, do you need to, did the cat do it again, or do you have a question?
I didn't even know mine. Is it still raised from earlier? Because she hasn't been over here, and I haven't.
Okay. Yeah, let me.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I can lower it. It looks like Rubang. is Domador.
Yes, hi. Good afternoon, everybody.
Hey, man. How are you?
I'm from McNair Academic. This is our first year doing it, participating in it. I was able to actually be one of the coach who went this summer for the advanced coaching class. My question is, since you had a chance to improve your engineering book, does it have to be done on the actual book that was provided, or can it be done in a binder or anything like that?
Any binder, and what I recommend personally, just as an engineering teacher at heart, is to go get a 50-cent engineering graphics on graphing paper, because it helps the students. You know, they can draw on it. They can they can use the blocks to practice their engineering notations. And honestly, if I'm a judge and I'm looking at the engineering notebook, I want to see a hot mess. And what I mean by that is I want to see the trial and error, how it took place inside that book. If there's a little bit of a coffee stain in it, or I don't want to see a lot of erasing and scribbles, because that's not the engineering way, right? It's a one line through it. But it's also that trial and error. That tells me that the students did that engineering notebook. It was not taken home by the teacher and made pretty, right? We don't want to see that. We want to see student-led engineering books, which, in all honesty, are going to be a little messy, and that's okay. We just want to see where they learned, right? All right, got another question, Mr.
Thank you for that.
Mr. Young. Yes, sir.
Hey,
Young.
Dennis.
Hey, man.
I think I've been going down the wrong path again. Maybe it's all that coffee I've been drinking. So my kids, their engineering notebook they've been working on, it's actually a PowerPoint thing. I mean, they've got a table of contents. And the kid that the team elected to do the engineering notebook is my kid is OCD. So he's looking for the I's being dotted. He's already got photos. He pulled out a GoPro camera, has been doing video to try and document every single thing that's been going on. So that's not what the judges are looking for. They're looking for the organized chaos in the engineer notebook, if I'm understanding that correctly.
Well, and maybe that's just my perspective on it. Some of my judges might argue that, hey, we want to see something in a notebook that is well organized, right? But I would say it might be a little tough for them because what happens at competition is they turn their engineering notebooks in the night before, or at the latest, the early morning of competition. And those judges are going to review those notebooks along with their showcase videos, which we need to talk about here in a minute too. But I would say that, hey, that's great. If you've got a kid that wants to put it in PowerPoint, I would just say to transfer a lot of that information, that same information, into an engineering notebook, and encourage, pen and paper, the written form too. But if there's documents, there's pictures, if there's graphs in there that they have produced digitally, that's fine too. I don't want them just to take everything and trash it and start over. Okay. Hopefully that helps. All right.
Okay, it did. Thanks, Dennis.
Okay, you're welcome. All right. Next up is one of our hosts for the Murfreesboro, Central Tennessee Regional. They're right south of Nashville, Tennessee, and that is Mr. Mark Guthrie. He's been with us. How long you been with us, Mark?
This is my 5th year, I think.
5th year, okay. Mark's getting ready to retire next year, but we've convinced him that he needs to take over as I move into retirement. He's going to be the next RDL general manager, right? And Matt's laughing because Matt's laughing because I told him the same thing. But Mark, if you're ready, man, I know you've got some really absolute really good advice, tips and hacks and all kinds of other stuff. And maybe hacks is not the right word for it. Mark's been teaching for how long?
30 years.
30 years. So, Mark, I can't tee you up any more than just that. You're an amazing individual and what you've done for these kids, and you teach you coach other robotics events. So we're super fortunate to have you and help and lead the way in Robot Drone League. So on that note, take it away, friend.
I'll start with what Matt said. Know your rules well, and know how you score points, and figure out how you can score points the best for your team. And the best may not always be the highest scoring opportunities, but can you score more of something? Can you do something really, really good? Because you want to complement the team that you're playing with. And if everybody's doing the same thing, then everything else left on the field. So there's a fine balance between being a jack of all trades and then being really good at one or two things. I have two teams this year, and one team is going to be a really good at one thing, and the other team is going to become a jack of all trades. The more experienced team is going to try to do more. The less experienced team is going to be one that just works on scoring the most points with the game items that score the highest points. With that said, when you do build that device, keep it simple. Don't make it overly complex. Sometimes students like to over-engineer stuff, and you don't have to over-engineer stuff. And I have a whole box. Oh, you can't see it, but over here to my right, I have a whole wall full of cardboard boxes. Prototype everything out of cardboard before you start trying to build it out of your whatever kit you're using. We use Rev Robotics and I go build a set. We have both of those that we use, and even a little bit of Vex, some old 15-year-old Vex stuff that we'll pull out every so often. But prototype what you want to build just to make sure it's going to work before they let them start cutting or tearing up stuff. Then you can't go back, or you got to reorder, and all of a sudden you're $300 into what should have been a $10 part because they got a little bit cut crazy. So I will say that programming wise, we have a couple students who just love programming. That's their thing. I let them have at it. I think they use a combination of all kinds of stuff. It's some Python, some Java, some Android Studio. They say they have to have. I let them whatever they want, whatever they can figure out. We have 3 different programmers for our robots, and I let them just go at it. I don't really have a big hand in that part because honestly, I'm not a programmer, and they'll do a better job than I will. I will say for my younger team, find something for everybody to do. Yesterday in class was the first day that I saw them get involved because I pulled the drones out. We're using old Parrot drones, which is the previous version of the Hopper. They program pretty easily. I do have a couple telos as well, and I understand all the trouble y'all have with telos. That's been a challenge. The Parrots are a little more reliable, or the Hoppers are a little more reliable. I put in the chat, just be careful as you're practicing them. Your battery starts to wear down. And so when you're practicing autonomous, it's not going to go as far the second time, third time, fourth time. You want to use a fresh battery to know exactly what autonomous is going to do at the beginning of the match, and then practice with that. Then the rest of the time they can fly. We did find if anybody out there has the old Parrot drones, I don't know if you do or don't. If you do, they do sell a camera on eBay for $15 that attaches to it, but you're only about 3-minute flight time. So you better be ready to go. Instead of the 7 to 8 minute flight time you'll get out of one, you get 3-minute flight time. That's one thing we've realized. It gets real heavy real quick. There's also a little claw that you can purchase on there. And I was just searching eBay one day and came across there and thought, hey, I got 30 of these I wrote for a grant. Let me buy some of these cameras and such. So we've been practicing with those. We do have a DJI drone, the Mini, we're going to be flying as well. I see my little Potensic Atom. That's about a $200 drone. So it's a little more expensive. We're going to be flying that one when we're not flying for autonomous because those can't be programmed. But they're
Mark,
much more.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think you're hitting something really important too, that just so that everybody understands that you can swap machines in and out, both the robot and drone. Can you talk about that just while you're talking about that?
Absolutely. You stole my secret there, Dennis. You shared my secret, my magic sauce. Definitely, folks. If you have 2 robots, one that has a claw on it and one that has some kind of gatherer on it, build 2 robots and switch them out in the games. We've done that every year, and that's what helps our success. We have the older DJI robot that we got the first year, and we use it for the claw function. It works great. But then anytime we want to collect something, we have another robot that we built for collecting. And so this year, each team will probably have 2 robots and 2 drones. for that. Definitely take advantage of that. That's one thing that makes this competition unique among all the competitions, is you can introduce different robots for different jobs. So if you do have a team that's that's going to be that you're working with, and they say, hey, all we can do is pick up the moon rocks, or all we can do is move the habitat module. Okay, great. We're going to put our other robot in there first to start working on this other part of it. Definitely do that. Take advantage of that.
And Danny Cowden out of Memphis, Crosstown High team. I think that's team number 1055. Is that right, Danny?
Yeah, 1055, and then we added a second one. I don't remember the number this
All
year.
right. So Danny says in chat, so they didn't realize that they could switch robots and drones until it was nationals, when they made it to nationals. And so that was definitely a game changer. And I think with what Mark was saying about the decreased flight time, if you're adding payloads, because some of our game elements and the requirements of the game require that you're picking up stuff, right? So that's going to be more of a load on the robot or the drone. And you're gonna burn through that battery faster. So 3-minute flight time, obviously it's a 10-minute match, right? So what is your students, what is their contingency plans, fresh batteries, and also something really important that Mark said too, that we often overlook is, if they're over there practicing and they've got the autonomous part dialed in with that battery on a fresh battery, and they've wore it out 3 or 4 times, now they think that they're ready for that match coming up, and now they're at 55% on their battery, and it's not going to go as far. So their autonomous programming is just like, dadgum, we didn't, we fell short, right? So good advice, Mark. Anything else, man? You're knocking it out of the park.
On the notebook, I know that's challenging. I have if people want to email me, I'll put it in the chat here in a second. You can email me. I have a nice little plan of how to build a robot. It makes sense once you look at it as a teacher. Don't just give it to your students. They won't understand it. But it goes through each part of what does a robot have to do? What do you want it to do? What's your ideal? And it goes through 10 steps of building a robot. It makes a nice engineering notebook when you're done. If you go through those steps, take pictures along the way. And I'll be glad to share that with anybody who emails me and asks for it.
Yes, please.
Absolutely. Mark's going to share his email in chat. So you guys, I love it when you guys collaborate. We had Onika and Whitney collaborating in RDL Jr. the other day for our host meetings. But and I do want to bring in Onika to talk a little bit about that for the RDL Jr. Here in a moment. But before we do that, Mark, your team did a showcase video. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but it was absolutely sensational. And I'll just give you I'll cover the basics. You can find all this in the challenge manual. Our showcase videos are 5 to 7 minutes long. Because of the nature of our competition, it's really tough, especially running 10-minute matches. It's really tough for our judges to sit down with each and every team and have a presentation, because it's a one-day competition. I'm really being pretty stubborn when people say you need to go to a multi-day competition, like a mate competition or some of our other friends that have multi-day competitions. And I'm trying to avoid the extra cost that's going to be on a team, right? Because there's a lot of travel, hotel reservations. I mean, you guys are already coming in from nationals and having to, pony up for 2 days in hotels there in Northeast Tennessee. And the thought of you guys having to do, 2 extra days or something like that, it's just going to be, it's just expensive. So on that note, we use the showcase video, which is 5 to 7 minutes long, to really give our judges a good look at how your team is comprised, what they've gone through for the season, what were some of their priorities, and some of the scoring rubrics, you'll see those too, is what the judges are looking for in that showcase video. But on that note, Mark, can you share a little bit from the coach's perspective just on what makes a good showcase video?
I would try to make it well-rounded. We do a couple interviews. You'll see a couple interviews in the video. We try to put each person and each team member in there, but we also show our outreach of what we do. We have Steamapalooza coming up here locally. It's where we take our robots, let kids, they come to this event at the Discovery Center, let the kids drive. There's some of our other robots that we don't compete with, but they beat the heck out of them. If we go to elementary schools, we show that. We do a STEM night at the local college. We show that stuff. Definitely kind of document your building progress in video form. Have somebody who's standing around. I know that we don't have the schools in the phone or phones in the schools anymore, but in my class, I say, pull that phone out and get some video real quick, because you want to document that stuff and let it showcase what you've actually done over the course of a couple months. By the time we get to March, 6 to 8 months, you want to make sure that it documents that. And find some good music. I will tell you today, it's funny you mentioned this, Dennis. I got on AI, typed in some stuff about my robot team, and man, I got the best song in the world about you're gonna hear it in our video this year. You're gonna laugh when you hear it.
That's gonna
I
be
played
cool,
it for the
man.
kids, and the kids started laughing and loved it. They said, "Can you put it on Teams so we can put it on our phones?" Yeah, let's do it.
Well, you know what, and I'm glad you mentioned AI, because if you look in the challenge manual, we know kids are going to use AI, right? I mean, they're using it every day. They're using ChatGPT to do all their history and English and math and whatever. But what we want to try to teach and instruct is, how do you use it in a responsible manner? And how was it productive for your team? Did it enhance the overall product in the process? That is a perfect example of how a team used AI to generate something that's really cool for the team, that's going to really enhance their showcase video. So yeah, I'm very excited to hear that. I didn't even think about doing that. That's awesome.
It's hilarious. The kids love it. I was
Yeah.
laughing the whole time I heard it. So.
Yeah. All right. I want to bring in a couple coaches. Thank you, Mark. As man, solid advice as always. Thank you so much for your leadership and being a part of our team and blah, blah, blah. I mean, just amazing. Just the knowledge base of what you guys got going on there at Central Magnet School in Murfreesboro. Can't wait for November 15th, right? I got to check my dates. Next, I want to bring the Team 100, Team 100 from Lee County, Virginia. This is one of our favorite coaches, Tanya Kennedy. Coach, can you give us some of your wisdom? Let's see, you're muted, Tanya. I'm trying to unmute you. See, trying to unmute you. Still showing you muted. Or we can't hear you. That's okay. We'll leave you unmuted. Maybe you can come in when you get it unmuted. I think maybe your microphone. I don't know. I've got you unmuted. While you're doing that, Tanya, let me bring in Kayla Cantrell. She's from Buchanan County. And Kayla, if you can unmute and maybe share some words of wisdom for our coaches. You've been doing this quite some time.
Hey everyone, sorry, I've been bouncing back and forth. I've got some esports going on too that we're playing this evening. Always something to do.
Look at all that cool equipment you got back there. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, my nice 3D printers and some old FRC robots all over the place. And that's our computer room. So cool classroom that has a pool. There's Tyler playing Madden still.
They got a
for the
swimming pool for underwater robotics. Man, it's so cool.
So we've competed in a lot of different programs. We've done the FRC, the FTC, got still FLL teams. We've done VEX. We've done the REC Foundation's drone program. So RDL is a great mix of it. I like the size of it as far as being played in the field size it is. It's very large for you to have more options of what to do in flying. Also like that it's got the robotic aspect with the drone aspect. So that really is a nice play for this program that we use. As far as a coach, going to kind of piggyback off of what was said earlier a little bit, the manual is your most important thing. There's updates to the manual. So not only is that first manual that you print out the one to read, but check back periodically, maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, because there are updates as we go through the season and see that some things need to be revised or revisited. So you definitely want to always check that manual for updates. Dennis can tell you it's really funny when we go to competitions and teams are like, no, this is the rule. And we're like, oh, nope, you didn't check the update on that because we just changed this part of it. So that's one thing to definitely do the updates and check those out. And I don't think there's been any posted just yet, has there, Dennis?
Actually, there have.
Okay, so there has been an update already. Okay.
And that's what you want to look for. You want to make sure that you're looking in the online at robotdroneling.com. And I want to say currently on change 3.
Okay.
And some of that is, some of it's very minor, but we log what changes were in there. We have someone that's dedicated. That's their whole function in life now, is to worry about the changes in the manual, right? So yeah, that's a great point, is to use those resources online and make sure that you're looking at the latest and greatest change, because that's what we're going to have at competition, right? And if there's any question, just always, we want you guys to reach out to us. And I love how you guys are collaborating amongst yourselves, because that just makes us better, right? Makes us sharper, more accurately, and more accurate in what we're trying to teach these kids, and they deserve our best. So thank you, Kayla. I really appreciate you. Yes, ma'am.
And so another part to kind of point out, if it's your first time coaching and you don't know what you've gotten yourself into, and you're like, oh my gosh, this programming, what do I do? Oh my gosh, this building, I don't understand. What do I do? Especially in areas, there are businesses and companies that they will work with you and support you. If you just have any questions about mechanical design you don't understand, you could reach out to a company in your area. If there's not one in your area, you can also reach out to Dennis, and he can put you in contact with Steve. Wright loves to talk with teams about anything on the 3D printing side, if there's anything that he can help you with on that side. But I know there are a lot of different companies and businesses that would love to volunteer time and help with teams, but they don't know about you if you don't reach out to ask and tell them that, hey, we've got this robot team. We'd like to have someone come in and speak to our students about coding, or we'd like to have someone come in and speak to them about principles of flight if you've got a drone company near you or something. So that's also something that you can look at, is in the community, what other businesses can kind of help and mentor your team also, because we don't know it all. And then back to the point that Mark made earlier with AI, we had to use AI to help us with some programming things. Now it has a nice picture feature. You take a picture with your phone and say, this is my code. This is what I'm trying to do. I can't get it to work the way I want it to. What am I missing? What can I change? Can you help me? And so that's another way to use that AI to help understand the coding if you don't understand that.
That's awesome. That's good advice. And I want to piggyback on something you said, Kayla, about your volunteers and your local industry. When we're starting these competitions and these regionals, as they're getting more and more popular and bigger, our staff, we have a small staff there in Tennessee. And so sometimes it might be hard for us to load everyone up in an airplane or in a van and send them to you. But what we have put a lot of thought into this year, and a lot of resources and prep, is our volunteer training. So those people that Kayla's talking about that you're reaching out to, invite them to come and be a volunteer. If they're a good fit for officiating, which there's a little bit of a test there. You got to know the challenge manual. You got to be willing to be on your feet all day. We're going to feed you Chick-fil-A, but that's in the smiles of gold. They're worth gold when those kids are really appreciative of what you're doing. But invite them, because it's a rewarding experience for them. Plus, a lot of companies really encourage their employees to go out and volunteer for activities like this. So it's well worth it to invite them. Please just send them our way. We want to make sure that they get trained, or talk to your regional coordinator, your ROC, if you will. And so for University of Virginia at Wise, that's Heather Askey. Mark's down in Tennessee, Mark Guthrie, who you heard from. And then Georgia, Julie Folsey, who is not online right now. She had another meeting, a conflict. But again, you can always send that stuff to me or to any of our staff. And like she said too, Steve Wright, Dr. Wright at StreamWorks, man, that guy, he will utilize him, especially in 3D printing, because he wrote the book. He designed a lot of 3D printers in this world. He's retired now, but there's filaments that go into the 3D printers that has his name on it. Literally, he has the patents on that material. So anyway, thank you, Kayla. I appreciate you. All right,
You're
let's
welcome.
see. I think Tanya is up and running on her mic. So Tanya, come on there, Coach Team
Can you
100.
hear me now?
Yes, we got you loud
Oh,
and
good,
clear.
good. I had another button down here that was muted apparently. Um, so I don't know what kind of words of wisdom Dennis has been trying to get me to say, but just because I'm the oldest don't make me the wisest team, I don't think. But what I guess what we really want to talk about is like some of the frustrations. Like every year there's always frustrations, whether it be with building or coding. We still struggle with a little bit of all of it, even though, you know, we've been doing it for a long time. And I think the biggest thing is just be flexible with what you're doing, because when we go to competitions, I think maybe Matt said this, so I'll reiterate it again. There's going to be failures, whether you expect it or not. So be ready for them. I might say, like, take you some extra batteries, take you propellers and things to the driver's station, because if something falls off, you can't leave the driver's station to go get it. But if you've got it there with you, you'll be ready for when things go wrong. You know, we've had drones tied up and stuff, and propellers break, and we've had arms come off robots just in transit. So even, you know, just the way we pack things on the bus can make a big difference in what's going to happen when you get over to the competition. So be ready for those failures that you don't expect, because things are going to happen. Parts are going to be lost and pieces fly off. We've had some 3D printed replacement parts that we could not get from DJI for the RoboMaster before. We had a little pin that got smashed and just seemed to disappear into thin air, and we 3D printed it and replaced it and got it running again. So just be ready, be flexible. When something's going wrong, if it seems like it's a team issue, we try not to blame each other, but take it as a team, and we stop and we talk about it, like what's going on. You know, we don't point fingers at people. We just say, okay, what can we do to fix it, rather than focus on who caused the problem. It's how do we fix the problem as a team. So those are some of the frustrations that we've had to overcome over the years, is just new coaches. I've been with them since 2020. I think Cindy Nicodem started us out with the team 100. We've grown. We had 3 teams at one point. We're back down to 2 now. We've had a lot of new kids and rookies. You know, trying to teach them at the same time you're trying to advance another team can be difficult too. So we actually have our older teams a lot of times mentor to these new students. So they're the ones showing them how to do it. I can honestly say I know nothing about coding. They teach that to the other kids that come on if they don't know it. They teach them how to build it. They teach them about what the ECPs are and everything else that's going on, the SIDS and all of that. So we let our kids do it. We also, like Mark said, take them and do outreach. You know, they go into do STEM nights at the elementary schools, and they're showing kids and how to fly the drones, how to do the robots. So we try to keep it as much team oriented as possible, and just, you know, don't point fingers when things go wrong. Just figure it out as a team, I guess, is my wisest advice to you guys.
That and thank you, Tanya. That I think that, just that authentic coach self, saying, "Hey, I don't have the answers, but together we're going to try to find the answers," and just that teamwork. And I love the point about, hey, let's don't point fingers. Let's point to the direction of trying to fix the problem, right? And that's a testament to a lot of our RDL teams. We uh, very rarely, I don't think I've ever seen any arguing amongst teams. And I'm sure there is.
Our kids have always stepped up at competition. You know, reach out to people. That's another thing. If you're having trouble with something, even at competition, you forgot a part. We forgot our batteries last year for our RoboMasters. I mean, literally ran off and didn't have a battery. Teams will help out. Just ask. Okay, just ask.
Right.
And there's not one team or one coach that we've never had help from. If you ask, and our kids are more willing now to help others because they've saw that help come to them when they needed it.
Yeah. We love that, that old adage from Woody Flowers, the gracious professionalism that, he insisted upon. And so we've tried to carry that on, through, I know Woody was with the first organization, but I've met Woody a few times before he passed, and such a good guy. And, but, I think that's really a special characteristic to teach gracious professionalism, because that's what you want to see in the workplace. You want to see collaboration. You want to see competition too, because that makes everybody better. And that was Woody's DNA. So thank you, Coach. I appreciate that very much. All right, I'm going to go through. See, John Lee was supposed to be joining us, but he had a last minute issue, which is okay. I think just the lineup that we've had here has just been amazing. I got a couple other coaches. Let's see. Is Joey Mulholland on here? I thought Joey might be here. I thought I saw him pop in from Georgia. Joe, are you here?
Yeah, Mr. Courtney, I'm here.
Yeah. Do you have any words of wisdom, sir?
So, I mean, honestly, the best thing I can say is try to make your, and I think a lot of people have said it, is try to make your practices as efficient as possible. A lot of times, coaching the middle schoolers, they tend to just want to kind of have fun and play around. So you kind of have to be a little bit militaristic and be like, all right, guys, we need to get together and just start getting to work. Especially when you pull out the drones and stuff, they just want to go outside and play with the drones. And what we've tried to do is get our 8th graders to kind of mix in with the 6th graders, so that when the 8th graders graduate and go to high school, the 6th graders can kind of step up and do the same thing for the new kids. So we try to mix and match with a little bit as far as middle school goes, from smaller and then to the older ones. So we've got a good mixture. And then the only other thing I would say is I try to get at least 2 teams of either 4 or 5, and in that way we can have like an A and a B squad, and kind of cross train them, so they can, if some kid can't run the drone or has to do something or is sick or something, we've got a B squad that at least can do that and fill in. But we also want to make sure that, especially at the middle school level, that all the kids are able to participate. We don't just want to have 1 or 2 kids kind of take over the whole thing, because this is a learning process for all the kids, and I want to make sure that they all get involved. So we do a little bit of cross training with all of them, but really the main thing is that they have fun and learn a lot, and are able to kind of all be involved and not just have 1 or 2. You need a leader, but you don't want everybody to do everything and not have them all help out. So that's all I'll say. And it's a great competition. It's so much fun. And I have no teaching experience and I have no robotic experience, but we somehow put together a team and have a great time and meet other folks from around the country. So we really enjoy it.
Well, and I won't get into what you do, Joe, but I think STEM education benefits, and makes your job a little bit easier on that spectrum, because you're not having to do what you need to do, what you have to do, what you're obligated to do. And that's the goal for all of our kids, right? Is to produce good, solid citizens, that are going to be entering the workforce. So thank you, Joe. And I know you're a busy guy, and to take on this role as an RDL coach, it's no easy task, but I appreciate you.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir. All right. Hey, Erica, Coach Little, thank you very much for being here. I know some of you might have to pop off, but I do want to give Miss Anika a few minutes to talk about RDL Jr. and just from a coaching perspective. You've been doing it quite a while. Anything you want to add?
I guess when it comes to the engineering notebook, especially for RDL Jr., something that our kids love to do is they love to mess with code. So every time they have a code that they like, they have to write the code word for word in their engineering notebook. That way, if it gets erased or if they forget something or they didn't ask something, a day of competition, they can look in their journals and make sure their code matches what they want on the computer. So that was something that we noticed a couple years. So I'm going into my 3rd year with RDL Jr. And that's just something, because I'm coming from FLL world of writing things down, so it kind of correlates same with drones. Having your team have jobs. So hi. That is. Having your team have jobs. So I divide our team into RVR and half the team into drones, and like 1 or 2 kids for the STEM questions. So everyone kind of has a role. And then we have a battery operator who runs back and forth our batteries.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Coach. I think RDL Jr. And if you guys are interested, Anika will be more than happy to talk to you about it. She actually runs workshops for RDL Jr. They're in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and so we're super fortunate to have her on board, RDL Jr. So, and she just had a new job this year. She's now at the Volkswagen E-Lab, right?
I am, yeah. ELAB
That's so
specialist
cool.
now.
E-Lab, that's awesome. That's awesome. Cool. All right. Well, on that note, I think some folks are starting to drop off, which is understandable because it is the dinner hour for most folks. But I am going to open it up for Q&A. I'll stay on as long as you want. I'm going to keep the recording going just so we can get your questions and get them answered. If I don't have the answer today, I will make sure that we get your answer ASAP. Okay.
I have a
But
question whenever you're
yes,
ready.
ma'am. Go for it. Go for it. I'm
For
ready.
the workshop that I'm good, is there, can I have a picture or a copy of the field, playing field itself?
Um, you want to, you got the animation. Do you want a actual picture?
Just a picture, like yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Which, excuse me, let me mention that Steve Wright uh, uh, generated a blurb today, just today, and we put it into the newsletter, which will be coming out next Tuesday, about the crew at Stringworks there at Valley Brook. And they build these fields, and just some of the shenanigans and the innovations and the challenges that they've had in developing these fields. But he talks about it a little bit, but we'll be able to show some pictures too of what you're looking at. You know, a lot of you see the animations, you see the CAD drawings in AMG, but we'll be sharing more and more pictures as they come out of Valley Brook. Sometimes we don't like to show too much uh, because we want there's nothing better in my world than after we set up the RDL and the RDL Junior field and watch the the look on the kids' faces when they come in and they see the field for the first time. And I will say this year's game, Moonbase, with the Lunar Gateway spacecraft, it's got lights, it's got the NASA stickers on it. It's going to be phenomenal. So, yeah, well, I think what's going to be cool is I'm sure, especially at the junior level, we're probably going to see some junior astronauts in their little astronaut uniforms. So it's going to be fun. And I don't know if you guys heard today, but NASA just announced, the Artemis 2, the crew that's going to fly around the moon, and that whole project, that whole mission is going to be. I mean, this is the first time in over half a century that we've done this, so it's going to be it's momentous, right? So, Miss Anika, any other questions?
That was the only one I had.
Okay. All right. Next, fire away.
Dennis, I'll just throw out there real quick. If one of his coaches gets overwhelmed and thinks, oh no, we're not gonna have a robot, please reach out and ask for help. Don't come with something that you're not proud of or something that you think we can't compete. Everybody can compete. Just please reach out for help.
And and I think Tanya was talking about, the other coaches that'll help you at competition, and I think everyone knows that. Um, you know, we've actually had coaches with other robotics events, underwater robotics. That's a significantly challenging competition. And we've had coaches say, look, the thruster broke at the last minute. We're not coming to competition. And I'm like, no, please don't do that. We will find you a thruster. We will find you a motor. We'll find you a kid that's really good at coding. We'll find whatever it takes. Please don't. We don't want that to be taken away because we know how hard you and your kids worked during those 2 to 3 months in preparation for the competition. So please know that whatever resources that we can provide as a team, as a league, we're going to do that for you. So thank you, Mark, for mentioning that.
I will second that because right before nationals this year, one of the kids accidentally slammed the drone into the wall and their motors broke, and so we went to competition with no drones. And so, luckily for Dennis, he shared some drones with us so we could compete.
Absolutely, we're going to do whatever it takes, right? Because nothing pulls at my heartstrings more than seeing a kid. I mean, and and as much as I hate to see it, we will have kids that get frustrated and start crying especially at the junior level. And I don't want to see that. But if it's because their robot or their drone failed and they don't have another one, they don't have any recourse, then, what can we do to prevent that? What can we do to remedy that? So whatever it takes, right? Uh, let's see, I think is it Major Flynn?
Yep. Hi. Thank you.
Hey,
So,
how are you, sir?
doing pretty good. Thank you. Just kind of starting. I just kind of started talking to our team just a couple days ago. So I'm kind of being thrown into this.
The fire hose got turned on, huh?
Yes, yes.
Where are you
However,
calling from, sir?
I'm calling from Pennsylvania, and
Pennsylvania, okay.
Judah Whitney, Judah Whitney is, is the, I guess he's running
Yes, sir.
the junior ROTC here. Anyway, I
Right.
have a little bit of a speech thing going on, so sorry.
You're fine.
So my questions, so as I was growing up, not as I was growing up, my kids were growing up, they participated in VEX.
Yeah.
And so now I'm kind of reading through this, and so I'm really trying to get my my bearings. I think I read through the moon-based manual.
Yes, sir.
But I'm not sure if I got everything. So I'm just wondering if I'm missing some documents, or I just don't know. I don't know if I have everything.
No, you're fine. So when you look at that manual, and if you go to the RDL website, I think Matt Dalton mentioned that the AMG, which is acronym for the short for the Autonomous Measurements Guide, which is essentially the CAD drawings, right? So that shows us the distance on the field of each task piece, like the deep crater, the shallow crater, the lunar caverns, and you'll see that on the actual challenge section of the website. If you can't find it, I'll send you a copy of it. Okay. So that's important to review too, and maybe get your kids out on the in the classroom. They can kind of envision, how the field is set up from the animation, and they can break out some tape measures. And they say, okay, if my starting point is at this x-axis right here, then I got to go and I got to traverse, so many centimeters in this direction, and then I hang a right or I hang a left, and then I have to go into the scoring zone and maybe drop a marker into the shallow crater or the deep crater, either one. So that'll give them some ideas on how they can approach and take on the different tasks. There's 7 different tasks, with the 8th task being the unfurling of the flag, which is pretty much automatic if all 7 tasks are accomplished. There for your first year, there really is no anything that I can say that's going to make any difference other than experience. So just experiencing the event itself is going to be enlightening. It's going to, a lot of your moments where you kind of like, I don't understand this or what, and just like any other robotics competition, you say you have a little bit of experience with VEX. Let me say that in our competition, we don't have a specific robot. We welcome VEX. We welcome FTC robots, the GoBuilda. We utilize a lot of GoBuilda because we have a partnership with GoBuilda. So that's why we use the GoBuilda system in our advanced workshops. But literally, we're regulated by the size of the robot and the power of the robot. We recommend Arduinos because they're programmable and they're low cost. And I think the Raspberry Pis, we used to use Raspberry Pis, and man, they got so daggum expensive. But we're currently on Arduinos, which I think we pick up for about 40 or 50 bucks. Let's see. again, if you just look at the challenge manual and then couple that with the AMG and just take it chunk by chunk, little bit by little bit, task one, and try not to, it's the way the game is designed, it's almost impossible for one team to be able to take on and be able to accomplish all 7 tasks within that 10 minutes. And that's by purpose. And there's a reason for that, because what you'll be doing is when you compete at regionals, you'll be paired, randomized during the qualification matches with different teams. And so there will be 4 teams at the field at one time, 2 of which will be competing together either on red or blue. And the scoring on that is by individual teams. However, you're assisting each other. And I will say part of the rules change that we just had recently is because we were thinking about, I think the one that caught us was the unfurling of the flag. And the idea was, it's 500 points. So if an alliance was successful at unfurling the flag, you just split the points up, right? Well, I didn't necessarily like that. I wanted to think about, there's only one unfurling of the flag, and that's a momentous moment, but it's also worthy to say that that's 500 points, and maybe each team deserves that 500 points rather than splitting it since it's a one-off. The same thing I would say for STEM questions. The STEM questions need to be a collaborative event. So, but there's only one STEM question display. So how do we divvy that up? And we want to make sure that the alliances know that they can collaborate on those STEM questions, because depending on what grade level they're in, they're written for different grade levels, and they're not easy. And so, especially in the heat of the moment, it's going to be really hard and some teams they'll try to Google the answers up and all that, but and that's legal. But again, we have found that a lot of teams don't get the questions right unless they really collaborate together. Okay. The swapping out of the robots and the drones, as Mark Guthrie was talking through, that's important too. So let's say if I know that a lot of JROTCs have VEX robots in their closets. You can have more than one robot. So if you have the RDL Advanced kit that we sent to you from the RDL store, and your kids are building that, great, because that by design, that is meant that's probably more important to me than the actual competition. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but for me, the experiential learning that you and your kids are going through over the course of the next few weeks is probably the most impactful. The competition is nothing more than a celebration, right? It's a culmination of, hey, we had a good time. This is all the stuff we learned. Now we're going to go have fun, right? And we're going to compete. We're going to try to beat the snot out of everybody. But at the same time, we're going to make friends. We're going to learn a lot. And maybe there's something that we don't know that another team can help us. Or maybe one of our kids is really, really, really good at CAD or computer coding, or just has a knack for whatever, and they can help another team, right? So that's all a part of the design of the competition. So, but please feel free to reach out to me anytime. You can email me. My personal cell number is on my email. So if you want to call me and talk through anything, I'm here for you, man. And I would say that a lot of our coaches are that too. I don't want to speak for them, but I'm sure that they would. I know Mark and Matt and all the ones that you heard from today would be more than willing to help you.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Hey, you're very welcome. We're glad that you're here. Can't wait to meet you in person up in Boston, right? So that's going to be cool.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Anyone else? I'm here for you.
If I can just add to what you're saying, Dennis, our first competition, we were clueless. We walked in, we didn't know what we were doing. The other teams there took us in. They helped us figure out what we should be doing, where we should be going, and it really was the key to our success. It's why I love RDL more than all the other things we've done. It's the community. So don't worry if you feel like you're lost. We'd read the manual, we broke it down. We still felt lost. Show up. That is the biggest thing you can do, because I promise you, all of us who've been there before, we're going to help you.
And believe me, it's thank you, Danny. That's thank you very much. I appreciate those words. We work really hard to ensure that collaboration, because it is about learning, and it's hard too, because you're trying to instill competition at the same time. And I've been a part of, the first family, the first organization, learned a lot. There's really good people there. I don't want to throw rocks at any of the other organizations, other than maybe they charge a little too much sometimes. But and we try to keep our registration fees down to a minimum. And we call it the car wash registration. It's $450. And in my mind, that's what a team could go make in one Saturday by doing a car wash. If you do it right, if you get all the parents to bring their dirty vehicles over there and get them washed. But it is about the student learning, which I think is super important to us. And our philosophy is that it should be student led, and that the kids are preparing for their future. And if they're exhibiting those behaviors of becoming a lifelong learner, being a collaborative partner, and being a gracious professional, man, we've done our job, right? So,
Hey, Dennis.
yes,
I
sir.
don't know. Well, you guys probably can't see that because my
What
camera's
you
not
got?
going to
I
show
can't
it
see
here
it.
now.
Yeah. What you got?
I want to say thank you to you and all the guys that's popping, because when I popped in a meeting, I kind of got here late because I had to drive 10 minutes to get back to my office to get to my camera. But I'm sitting here, listening to everybody, give advice, and I'm listening, going, man, this is probably a little bit over my head right now. We just got our stuff, and
Yeah.
I've got 20 kids that showed up, and I basically in our classroom, I mentioned that we were going to be doing robotics this year, and then we are going to be getting the drones, and I expected maybe 4 or 5 kids to show up. I had 20 kids show up.
That's amazing.
My principal's thinking I'm having a party down here at school. And they started ripping open the boxes and stuff I brought back with me, and I pulled the manuals out, started working. I mean, I just kind of stood there and watched for a second. The kids are, hey, I got coding. Let's get over here. We got the drone over here. Okay, let's start getting this. And I'm sitting there, and they're looking at me like, what do we do? And I'm like, you guys are already on it. I'll just stand here and manage and kind of facilitate a little bit. But listen to your coaches here tonight. One of my biggest things is I'm thinking, okay, we're coming all the way from Germany. I don't want to take a 9-hour flight and the kids get there and they get blown out of the water, because that's going to be a long ride coming back, and I don't have that many tissues in my suitcase for all the tears.
Yeah.
Because again, I
No,
got that
and
OCD kid, and I know
no,
he's going to get frustrated if it doesn't go
yeah.
right.
No, and that is an important point to make. And let me add two things. First, I really appreciate you staying up, because you're 5-6 hours ahead of us, and so
It's about
it's like,
11:30 here now.
yeah, it's almost midnight your time. And so, and you know what? I really, just like what we did with Matt and his team, we interviewed his kids. I think from a rookie perspective, and it's so exciting, you got 20 kids that really want to join. I think maybe in a month or so, I'd love to interview your kids. And
Sure.
the same, if that's possible, we'd love to, if it's permissible, and feature them in our newsletter. Get their picture in there and talk about, some of the trials and tribulations that they've had. But also, what I would add too, and a great example, when you said that 9-hour flight coming over to Boston and for December 6th and being prepared. My friends in India, we had an underwater robotics. I'm involved with that organization too.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Marine Advanced Technology Education. Great super group, worldwide, global. We'll have the World Championships in Canada next summer. But long story short, the Indian team from India, they would fly all the way over, and depending on where the competition was, usually in the States, either East Coast or West Coast. And every year for 3 years, when they showed up, either TSA cut all their wires, or the robot was just crushed in the luggage and the baggage. Something happened and they broke every year, and they were never able to compete. That third year, I was standing on the pool deck, and these kids, passed safety. That was huge. That was number one goal. They got through safety, and then they what they call getting wet. Nobody, that there were people there that helped them, but the students had to do the majority of the work. For 3 years, they failed, but that during that third year, they were actually able to get the robot wet, which means they got it in the pool. And they didn't win a trophy. They didn't win, the big award. They didn't score a massive amount of points, but you would have thought that they won Olympic gold because they were, yeah. And that the perseverance, 3 years of not being able to get the robot in the pool and get wet. That's pretty significant, and I don't want to be that extreme. With robots and drones, we're gonna make sure the kids get a robot and a drone to compete with. But and I get it, but that's just one example. And you look at these kids now, and I still keep in touch with them. He works at the JPL for NASA in California. He's a Georgia Tech graduate. So I live in Georgia, and I've been to, done a lot with Georgia Tech. And so I got to know him very well as he was going through Georgia Tech. And so just an amazing young man. But that experience of not getting wet for 3 years, I think helps mold their character. So sometimes failure is not a bad thing, right? And so we learn from it. And as we all know, us older folks, right? But thank you so much, man. And again, let's talk offline about interviewing your team, because you know what, the selfish part of me is, here's the truth. At on competition day, whether it's a regional or a national, if I'm there, I usually don't get the opportunity to talk to the kids, and I really miss that. I wish that I'm waiting for Matt Dalton to take over as CEO of Robot Drone League, so I could just come in and be a volunteer and just talk to the kids, because that's what I really enjoy that a lot. And I look forward to talking to your kids during this interview, because Lord knows I might not be able to during nationals if we're so busy. But I appreciate you being here and staying up late.
Oh, too easy.
All right. Who else we got here? It looks like questions. I'm here for the long haul. See, I got Lieutenant Colonel Scott calling from Chattahoochee County High School in Georgia. Is it Georgia or Alabama? I don't think she hears me. Any other questions? Well, I have taken up way too much of your time, and I appreciate you. And feel free again to email or call if you have anything. Matt, thank you very much for being here today, and for offering your wisdom. Very appreciative. Do you have a question or something? Anything else? Nope. Okay, good. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and conclude the meeting. I'm going to stop the recording. Again, please, please, please,